Now I have a bank I love, but I have historically hated banks. Like, I went from, can we name names, right? Who cares, right? Like the Bank of America, Regions, what was it, SunTrust. Like, I don't know what it is, but I've always had issues with banks. Like, with, for instance, when I adopted kids and one of them I wanted to get a checking account for, the torture I went through to try and get him an account, and then they closed it because they didn't think he was a citizen, even though I provided all the paperwork that said he was a citizen. To, you know, overdraft fees in the past that, for something that was an error of somebody else and it taking weeks and weeks and weeks to get my money back. Just like, yeah, banks are annoying in the past
Well,
historically.
and that's the thing too. Like banks, traditionally they provide a service, right? And it
Hmm.
used to be back in the day with Nana and Papa, the local bank, they would know your name, and it was a small community bank, right?
Yeah.
Well, over the years, through consolidations and closures and
Mm.
acquisitions and things like that, you've got the big banks out there, Bank of America, Regions,
Mm.
Chase, and things like that. And I've had accounts at several of those. And they're good people. Don't get me wrong. The employees are good
Yeah.
people, but it's like they've lost sight of who they're there for, the customer, right? The customer is always right. And so several years ago, I mean, we're going on 15, 20 years ago, somebody introduced me to the credit union concept. And
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, I thought credit unions were small little locations that a business would use, like only the employees could join or something like that, or only, military or whatever. And that's not the case anymore. A lot of credit
Right.
unions, they're membership driven. So the customers, if you will, are actually members, not customers. And it's a
Hmm.
totally different mindset on how they look at it. So I love credit unions for that very reason. Typically, their rates are better, their fees are a lot better, because that was one thing about banks too. I mean,
Yeah.
it always, if you were like on your credit card or whatever, if you were one day late, I mean, they're hitting you with like 30, 40, $50 in fees and stuff like
Hmm.
that. And it's just like, give me a break. I've been a client for how long? And sometimes they'll waive the
Yeah.
fees, and you've got to have minimum account balances, or they're
Right.
charging you fees. And I mean, it's just like fees upon fees upon fees. And it's just like, most people out in middle America, man, we're trying to get by, right? It's like, what do you do? So that's where, credit unions, I'm a big fan of. And I'm sure if you look
Hmm.
around, you've got a credit union. For the viewers out there, you've got a credit union that is in your area that, talk to them and see, what you need to do to get an account, of if it would be worth it to you. But that's one of the things I wanted to bring up. You should be interviewing your banks, like asking them,
Hmm.
what are the fees involved? What are the minimum balances required? Do you offer, what are your average loan rates, as far as an auto loan or something? If I want to come to you for an auto loan, what would that look like? Things like that. Don't just take the bank that's easiest for you. And I know one of the things that I was hung up on with credit unions was, well, my ATM won't be good. Well, that's all gone anymore. That's ATMs, right? You can use whatever,
Right.
wherever. There may be a fee involved, or something, but I know in my credit union's case they reimburse it. But you know that was my divorce, if you will, from the bank world of
Right.
bank. I went to the world of credit unions, but I don't know. I found this bank that, and I mentioned it to you, and I've been thoroughly impressed. I don't have an account with them, but I use them for other services, and I've
Hmm.
been absolutely thoroughly impressed. And I'm going to name the bank, and I'm just going to be clear with everybody. I don't have any kind of relationship financially with them. I don't get any money for this. I don't have any kind of affiliate link or whatever. But this bank has blown me away with their level of customer service and what they're doing for the clients, and that is Capital One Bank.
Yeah.
And you've heard of Capital One, I'm
So,
assuming.
well, that's the first bank I've enjoyed. I actually joined Capital One, got accounts with them in 2019, I think, or 2020.
Yeah,
Um, I actually was with a private bank before. I was going to say that. That's the one bank I did love. It was a private bank, but their fees were very high. But
yeah,
you got incredible customer service.
yeah.
But yeah, I love Capital One. I've been with them, for several years now. I have a Capital One credit card that I use and pay off each month. And then I love it, which, we teach the TPG money split system,
Mhm.
right? And so I have that in my business accounts at a business bank separate. But then when it comes to my personal, I have Capital One. They don't charge you a fee and they don't have minimum balances on their savings or the checking accounts. And so
Oh,
I have 6 different accounts with them.
yeah.
And I see them all in one portal, and it's easy to move money around. I have my car loan with them, so it's easy to pay my car loan, and my credit card. So I actually, all in all, have 8 accounts with Capital One, and
Wow.
I have never been disappointed.